When it comes to chargebacks, you want to try to avoid them at all costs because otherwise it's just like taking money and throwing it away. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Christina Scalera and I help you to sell and keep more of your money that you make through your digital product shop. Oh my God, what was that? You haven't hit the like button? Totally judging you. You may be wondering what a chargeback is and why you haven't hit that like button yet, so make sure you click that, and we'll get into chargebacks right now. The dreaded chargeback. This is something that happens to everybody who runs a business. I don't care how good you are at running your business. At some point, some a-hole is going to be like, hello, thank you for sending me my products. I would like to get my money back and keep the products. And that's basically what a chargeback is. When someone purchases from your online store, instead of doing a refund request or just being like a normal civilized person, they directly go into their credit card statement and hit dispute on your exact line item charge inside of your shop. So on their end, they're initiating this chargeback with their credit card company or with PayPal. And the credit card company is saying, oh my gosh, you're our customer. We want to make you so happy. We are going to do everything that we can to make sure that this chargeback is legitimate and gets resolved in your favor, customer, which means that you as a merchant, the seller, you're going to be screwed out of the money that person originally paid you. And the crappy thing about chargebacks, well, there's a lot, but like the crappiest thing about chargebacks is that someone can do this to you months later. And if you do not have the things that we're going to talk about here in place, you are setting yourself up for failure and potentially chargebacks on the products that you've sold even 6 months ago. The first step that you're going to take in order to prevent chargebacks from happening in the first place, or if one has already happened, you have to go and fight it. You have to provide proof that that person actually did get the materials, they did want it, etc. And the way that you are going to help yourself in that circumstance is to have a really solid refund policy. This should be a refund policy that is very clearly spelled out. There's no ambiguity. It's not like show your work and we'll give you a refund. It says exactly how long someone had to make a request for a refund, and in the event of that request, what, if any, conditions were applied and how that refund would have been granted if it was allowed. So for example, in my online store, we have a 14-day any reason refund policy. I do not say no questions asked because I do ask them questions. I ask them for their name. I ask them for their order number. I ask them to give me a little bit of information about why they are requesting this refund. And all of that helps me to also improve my products, but to provide a better customer support experience, because then I don't have to go and track down their order or accidentally refund the wrong person because 2 people had the same name, something like that. However, as my refund policy name implies, they can ask for a refund for any reason at all. It really makes it a risk-free purchase. And we've found that even with this refund policy, our return rate did not go up at all. We were about 2 to 3% in refund rates before we instated this policy, and now we're at about 3 to 4%. So we really didn't go up that much, if anything, given the month, on our returns and refunds, even though we have a very liberal refund policy. I also went very into detail about refund policies in last week's video, so that is linked below. You'll want to make sure that you check that out after you watch this. But the biggest thing to know about refunds when it comes to chargebacks is that the number one reason someone is going to file a chargeback against you is because you didn't have any kind of refund policy, or the refund policy didn't work for that person because it was overly burdensome for them to provide proof that they needed a refund or that they qualified for a refund or something like that. People are always going to do the easiest possible thing, so make it easier for them to request a refund than to file a chargeback, and they will do that. I forgot to say this earlier, but another reason you don't want a lot of chargebacks is because it can impair or negatively impact your merchant account with PayPal, Stripe, Square, etc. So if you have too many of these chargebacks, they are going to look at that every single time as like a ding against your account. As a result, they could potentially hold your funds for a longer period of time. So if you were counting on being paid out daily or weekly or something, they could hold that for months at a time, or they could completely shut down your account if you get too many chargebacks because they see you as a fraudulent merchant. My second step for preventing chargebacks is to be checking in with your customers early and often. A lot of times people will have complaints that they don't necessarily voice to you as the seller. And these are little tiny things, they're just kind of annoying, but they're not something that someone would take the time to write in about. However, if you can nip this in the bud and reach out proactively and ask them, is there anything you would change about your experience or the product? They will tell you what these little tiny annoyances are, because even though it was only annoying for these people, in the future, you're going to find a customer who that is not just annoying for, but a total deal breaker. And that's when you start to get those angry, irate customers. So if you want to avoid that angry situation, that angry person, start to look at what the little annoyances are by reaching out proactively to your customers, finding out ahead of time so that you can make improvements, change your products, change your process slightly, and continue to improve every single time someone buys a product from you. I typically send these emails asking for improvements the day after our refund policy ends, because I don't want to remind people why they would want a refund. I really do want to just improve the process and the products. And so I'm going to let the refund period expire, and then I'm going to collect their feedback on this. We're going to go ahead and use any kind of feedback that we receive from the customer and integrate that into the product description so that future customers who are shopping for this product are not confused and very, very clear on who this is for, what it does, how it helps them, etc. Because all of that great customer feedback we just collected, we can then use to improve the ability for someone to understand if this is a good product for them or not in the future. One other thing that you can do that really helps is just to provide your customers with additional support that they weren't expecting immediately after purchase. What this looks like is an email that comes with their order confirmation and, of course, their digital download products. And then I follow up the next day with another email that walks them through some small, tiny part of how to use their products. And then maybe 2 days later, I follow that up with some common questions that people have had that have gone through that product. And then a couple days after that, I'm following up with even more information, even more hand-holding, just to let them know that I'm in their corner, I'm there to support them, and I want to see them succeed with this product. The next step is probably the quickest win in this list, but make sure that when your business name shows up on their credit card statement, they can recognize the name, that it's not like some weird LLC name that you came up with 12 years ago and they wouldn't recognize that. You don't have to change your LLC name. You can just go into Stripe or PayPal and you can change your settings as to how your online store shows up in their credit card statement. I've had very few chargebacks, like less than 10, but the first chargeback I ever got was because I was using the same Stripe account for my online store that I had been using for like bathroom signs that I sold under a name called Southern Syllables. And so Southern Syllables showed up on their credit card receipt, not the name of my store, which is the contract shop. And so the girl did a chargeback and I actually ended up losing it because the name was different. So just change that name in Stripe, PayPal, whatever, and make sure that it's showing up as the name of your shop that they would recognize. The last step is to have an FAQs section that is very comprehensive and helps your customers to make that purchasing decision. An FAQ just stands for frequently asked questions. And so these are short answers to often asked questions that someone can access right on your product description page before they add that product to their cart. This is going to help give them the confidence that this is the right product for them, but also let them know that you really care about them and their experience with you because you're already proactively thinking of the questions or objections that they would have as they're starting to understand you, who you are as a shop, and then like looking at whether they're going to buy your product or not. Finally, my last step is something called Refund Recon. So this is a program I created that teaches you how we win almost all of our chargebacks and prevent them in the first place so that we have had a very minimal number of chargebacks. This is available at refundrecon.com. Ultimately, if someone wants to do a chargeback, they are going to, but there's lots that you can do to prevent these things from happening, especially having a solid refund policy. You can check out Refund Recon, or you can check out the video that just popped up on your screen totally for free. Watch that next, where I show you exactly how to set up your refund policy step by step.